Can you say that? Yes, I believe. Amen. Woo! What a great thought. What a great song. Beautiful words. And it goes along with what we're going to be talking about this morning. Let me throw one thing out at you before we get started. You may have noticed we did not take an offering today. That's all part of the restrictions. I think they just want churches to go bankrupt. I think that's... No, I'm just kidding you. But we have... we encourage you to give electronically on our app. But if you choose to give cash or a check, we have a plate over here on your way out. Feel free to drop your offering in there. We would really appreciate it. It has been tough on us being closed. You can imagine our church lives by donation. So we don't get money from anywhere else. So we greatly appreciate what you give. And of course, you're not just giving it to this church, you're giving to God and His kingdom. So thank you for that. But as I was saying, we are going to be talking today about what Leslie sang about, I believe. Only it goes a little bit further than just I believe. You may have talked to people in this community, people that you know, who will tell you, oh, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe that Jesus is God's Son. I believe He came here and died on the cross. But then when you look at their lives and how they live, you begin to wonder if they believe in the same thing you do, right? You know what I'm talking about? We're expected to do more than just believe something here. Or just say, I believe something. It's got to go further than that. The title of my sermon today is Trust Me. Trust me. Yes, I believe needs to translate into I trust. If you have not been following along, we haven't missed a Sunday sermon yet. We've been putting these sermons out on social media. So it's been going out through our app, on SoundCloud. It's also on YouTube. So by all means, if you have missed these sermons in the last 3 months, you need to go listen. You need to go watch because you need to catch up. Because this is a series that God put us into this year. By the way, this COVID stuff and these protests, riots, all of this that's going on, none of it took God by surprise. Not one thing happened where God went, I didn't see that coming. He knew. He knew what was coming when He called us at the beginning of this year to study on a faith that shows itself through love. And when you see the news and you see what's going on out there, yesterday in Atlanta, another one, there is so much hatred, so much anger. God knew we needed to study about a faith that shows itself and how we show love. As far as I can tell, as far as I'm concerned, this is the perfect subject for 2020. You agree? So let me just remind you what we're doing here, what God has called us to. The Bible says that you must have faith in order to please God. That's what it says. But we all know there are lots of different kinds of faith out there. People believe in a lot of different things. yes, I believe means different things to different people. There's only one kind of faith, though, according to Scripture, that will get you into heaven. You know, it's a popular concept these days that all roads lead to heaven. You can believe in anything you want as long as you believe in it, you'll make it to heaven. The Bible doesn't agree with that. There's only one kind of faith that will get you into heaven, and that's the kind that pleases God the most, right? And so we need to know how we can not only know what to believe, what faith is true, but how can we prove that what we believe is the right thing? What kind of faith really counts in God's kingdom? And that's the scripture that God gave us for this year. Galatians 5:6 says, the only thing that really counts is faith that shows itself through love. You see all these protests out there. I call them protests. Most of the people that are out there, I shouldn't say most, many of the people who are out there are not protesting. Many of them are rioting. That's not protesting. Many of them are breaking the law. That is not showing love. That is not proving our faith through love. Do you agree? All right, so it's not just me. And according to the scripture, any belief that doesn't show itself through love doesn't count as faith. According to the eye doctor, 2020 is perfect vision, perfect focus. Well, we figured 2020 should be a year for us to have perfect focus. And our perfect focus for 2020 is learning how to live in order to prove what we believe by the incredible love that we demonstrate in our daily lives. If you're not demonstrating love, it doesn't count as faith. Got it? Everybody's with me, right? So we have been focusing for a couple of months now on defining love so that we know we're loving the right way. And we've been using the best definition of love that exists out there. And it's in the Bible. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which we call the love chapter. Looking at verses 4 through 7, it goes like this. Love is patient. Love is kind. Now, I want you to think about the things you've been seeing on the news while we read this definition of love, and tell me if you think they are showing love according to this definition. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. How about this one? It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. How about this one? It keeps no record of wrongs. Whew. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. That, my friends, is love. That's love. If you're not doing these things, you can't say you are loving. And so far, we've discussed the first 4 characteristics of love the first of the four characteristics of love that are found in verse 7. Today I want to look at the second. You'll see it right here. The next characteristic of Christian love: love always trusts. Love always trusts. Now, if you misunderstand what this means, you misunderstand this characteristic of love, it can be hard to believe. After all, some people have proven to us that no matter how much we love them, we can't trust them any further than we can throw them, right? You're probably thinking of a couple of people right now. But this word isn't what it appears at first glance. When you look at the Greek for this word, trust in the Greek is the word pistio. And it literally means to be persuaded of, to credit, place confidence in the thing believed. Intellectual faith. To entrust a thing to one. Or the last one here, probably easiest to understand, to believe in. This word is usually translated in the New Testament, which was originally written in Greek, as the word believe. Here, in our version that we're reading and studying, it says trust. Love always trusts. But most places in the New Testament, it's translated as believe. And it refers to an object of trust. So what this verse is really saying is love always trusts in or believes in something. And that's what I want to talk about today. What is that something? What does love trust or believe in always? If you want to fill in your blanks, here's the first one. Others. What does love trust in? It trusts in others. Real love trusts in others. If you will allow the Holy Spirit to change your way of thinking, you will have real, true love in your heart. Love that proves your faith. And you will begin to believe in other people. In their potential. In their goodness. In their spiritual maturity, you'll begin to believe that it can happen. You believe in those things to come, even if you can't see them now. Basically, it means we hope, right? We have hope. Romans 8:24 and 25 says this: we were saved to have this hope. If we can see what we're waiting for, that is not really hope. People don't hope for something they already have. But we are hoping for something we don't yet have, and we are waiting for it patiently. Amen? So when this scripture says love always trusts, it's talking about a hope. We can believe in others and hope that it comes true. William Barclay, famed Bible commentator, said, love is completely trusting. In relation to our fellow men, it means that love always believes the best about other people. It is often true that we make people what we believe them to be. If we show that we do not trust people, we may make them untrustworthy. If we show people that we trust them absolutely, we may make them trustworthy. I want you to think about that for a minute. You have a lot of power that you may not even realize you have. You have influence. You can change people by believing in them. And if you have true love, God's love in your heart, you will always believe in, trust in what people can become. When you love someone, you believe and trust in the best in them, for them, and from them. Not that they will never do wrong, not that they are perfect now, not that they will never hurt you, but you believe in them being great someday. Paul understood this. Listen to what he wrote in Galatians 4:19. My little children, I am in pain again over you, like a mother giving birth. I will feel this pain until people can look at you and see Christ. That's believing in someone. That's trusting. That is a love that trusts. A man once told me, Pastor, I will come to your church. I had invited this man to church, encouraged him to come. His response was, I will come to your church. But I need to tell you, if you ever let me down, I'll leave and never come back. I looked him straight in the eye and I said, I can promise you, I will eventually disappoint you. It's going to happen. You might as well just expect it now. I am far from perfect, and I make lots of mistakes. So if you are looking for a church that is perfect or a pastor that is perfect, you shouldn't come here. But if you are looking for someone who will never let you down, come to church and I'll introduce you to him. His name's Jesus. Amen? Love always trusts doesn't mean people will never make mistakes. It means that you believe in what they can become. We've already learned that love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. And we've learned that love always protects those who do wrong. This characteristic that we're studying today is just a continuation of that same love. Love that proves your faith. Trust in what people can be regardless of what they are now. Everybody following that? You're with me? I know that I'm kind of going overboard on this, but it is so important for us to understand this is what love is, especially with what's going on out in the world right now. We need more of this love that trusts in what people can be. Here's a story that William Barclay told you may be able to relate to. I think this might help you understand what we're talking about here. He wrote, when Arnold became headmaster of rugby, he instituted a completely new way of doing things. Before him, school had been a terror and a tyranny. Arnold called the boys together and told them that there was going to be much more liberty and much less flogging. You are free, he said, but you are responsible. You are gentlemen. I intend to leave you much to yourselves and put you upon your honor, because I believe that if you are guarded and watched and spied upon, you will grow up knowing only the fruits of servile fear. And when your liberty is finally given you, as it must be someday, you will not know how to use it. Well, the boys found it difficult to believe. When they were brought before him, they continued to make the old excuses and tell the old lies. Boys, he said, if you say so, it must be true. I believe your word. The result was that there came a time in rugby when boys said, it's a shame to tell Arnold a lie. He always believes you. He believed in them, and he made them what he believed them to be. Love can ennoble even the ignoble by believing the best. Whew, that's a great story. Listen, as a pastor, people betray my trust all the time. People make promises and don't follow through. But I am still required by God, as are all Christians, to love them, to believe in them, especially me, since I have been given the responsibility of leading a church. I must believe in all of you, and I must show my love in trusting you, even if you've let me down, even if you've gone the wrong way. The Bible is very clear that leaders in God's kingdom will be held responsible for what people do while under their leadership. Hebrews 13:17 says this, obey your leaders and submit to their authority. Why? Look at this. They keep watch over you as men who must give an account. I'm going to be held accountable for what you do. Did you know that? I'm not sure if that'll make you straighten up or want to do more bad. I'm not sure. Guess it depends on how much you love me, huh? But according to the Bible, I am going to be held accountable for what you do while you're under my leadership. Listen to what it says to end this scripture. Obey them so that their work will be a joy, not a burden, for that would be of no advantage to you. You know, that scripture comes across differently to a pastor than it does to a church member. See, you may read that and see it as a hard thing on you. I have to obey and submit to him? That's not fair. While a pastor sees something else. I must give an account for them? That's not fair. Like many of you, I have been betrayed by people close to me. People I should have been able to trust. I've been abandoned by those who swore to support me. But I will never give up hope. Love always trusts, no matter what. No matter how badly someone has let you down. Remember, their job wasn't to hold you up in the first place. Believe in what they can be and treat them that way. Give them that love. Besides, I have witnessed miraculous changes in people that were without hope merely by showing love. I know that anyone can be great in God's kingdom. if only they will surrender their lives to Him. And I believe in that possibility. That's what it means by love always trusts. Never give up hope. No matter how badly someone has hurt you, always believe that they can be and can do great things in God's kingdom. Amen? If you're like me, you're going to need help with this. It's hard to trust in people who have let you down over and over again. People who have betrayed your trust. It's hard. We need help from God. So this week, Monday and Tuesday, when you're alone with God in your devoted time that you give to God every day, this is what I want you to do. I want you to ask God to help you always trust in the best in others. Will you do that? I heard a couple. Okay, that's a good start. I know the masks are making your voices quiet. Let's move on. Number 2, what does love trust in? God. Love trusts in God. True love always trusts in and believes in God. We need to believe that we can take every promise that God has made to the bank. No matter what it looks like, no matter how many things you think God should have done and hasn't, or shouldn't have done and has allowed in your life, you can trust in God. Every promise that God has made is 100% money back guaranteed true. Trust God. He'll never let you down. Listen to what God Himself said in Deuteronomy 7:9. He said, "Understand therefore that the Lord your God is indeed God. He is the faithful God who keeps His covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes His unfailing love on those who love Him and obey His commands." You can take that to the bank. The Bible is full of scriptures like this that talk about how trustworthy and how faithful God is. There is never a time you can't trust in God. Jeremiah 17, verses 7 and 8. "But those who trust in the Lord will be blessed. They know that the Lord will do what He says. They will be strong like trees planted near a stream that sends out roots to the water. They have nothing to fear when the days get hot. Their leaves are always green. They never worry. Even in a year that has no rain, they always produce fruit." Take it to the bank. I know. Trust me, I know. Sometimes it seems God is nowhere to be found. Sometimes you don't hear His voice. It seems like you just can't see the effect of God or the Holy Spirit anywhere. Sometimes things happen that we can't understand how God could have ever allowed. I've been there. I know. But mature Christians have learned to trust in God even in the darkest of times. And if you are a mature Christian, you have learned God always comes through, even when things look bad for a while. Immature Christians, well, they haven't learned that quite yet. Kind of like this. Take a look.
It can be difficult sometimes for us to hand over control of our life to our loving Creator. But as Christians, we know that we must trust in God, as long as things are going well. If things start to get bad, we should obviously stop trusting Him, because we gave him control of our life so that he would only have good things happen to us. So if bad things happen in our life, God has clearly violated our trust and needs to earn it back. When we are having trouble in our life, we need to trust in our own ability to fix the situation. But when things calm down and there's nothing to worry about, feel free to trust in God again. Because trusting in God some of the time is better than not trusting Him at all. These have been Deep Thoughts from a Shallow Christian.
No, wrong. Listen, we may not always get what we want. We may not always understand what He's doing. But the type of love that proves our faith always trusts in God. And we are never let down. Taken from someone who has trusted in God in the darkest of times. God has never let me down, not once. But sometimes we need a little help believing this, right? Where do we go when we need help? Wednesday and Thursday this week, I want you to ask God to help you always trust in Him. Will you do that? Oh, that's better. Okay. Let's look at the third point here. What does love trust in? Love trusts in yourself. Yourself. Does it surprise you that I would say that? Well, maybe I should qualify this. Love, this type of love that proves our faith, always believes in the new person that God created you to be. The new creation, as the King James Bible puts it. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "For if a man belongs to Christ, he is a new person. The old life is gone. New life has begun." So when I say you should believe in yourself, you should trust in yourself, I'm not talking about the old you. I'm not talking about the sinful nature, the person you were before Jesus came into your life. I'm talking about the new person that God created you to be, the one you are growing into, the one that God is maturing day by day. Believe in that person. That is you. It's just the new you. So that doesn't mean that I think you should just believe in whatever you think is right, or believe in your own intellect, or your own wisdom. That could get you into a whole lot of trouble. In fact, it does. Every time I trust that old self, I get in trouble. I'm talking about believing you can be and do anything that God wants. Anything He asks of you. Real, true love always believes in that new creation, that new person. And since God is love, think about this for a minute. The Bible says God is love. Right? And if God is love, and love always trusts in you, that means God believes in you. God believes in you. God trusts you. Wow. You know, in point one, we were talking about how we need to trust in others. We need to show that love by trusting and believing in others, even when they let us down. How many times have you let God down? And yet God still believes in you. He still trusts you, because love always trusts, and God is love. Listen to what God Himself has said about you. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. You are a citizen of heaven. You are chosen of God, holy and dearly loved. You are a member of Christ's body. You're a minister of reconciliation. You're an enemy of the devil. You're a child of God and you resemble Christ. You are born of God and you are untouchable by the devil. You are righteous and holy, a child of light, not of darkness, a partaker of a heavenly calling, a partaker of Christ. You are God's living stone built into a spiritual house. I could go on and on. These are things God believes about you. Now, do you see why I say you should trust in yourself? If God trusts in you, why shouldn't you? It's just which self you trust in that makes the difference. Every one of these scriptures is true about you. I've put these on the handout and they're on our app so that you can look them over. Put them up on your bathroom mirror. Put them on your refrigerator. Look at them every day. Read a new one and believe it. This is what God thinks of you. God has said all of these things about you. You have more power and authority than you realize. Don't ever think that you can't overcome sin. You can. Don't ever think that you can't become the holy person that God has called you to be. You can. You have the power and authority. You have great potential. You belong to God. Who can overcome Him? Stay in Him and no one can overcome you. Live for Him and you can always trust in yourself. William Barclay said, in relation to God, love always trusts. And it means that love takes God at His word. And you can take every promise which begins with whosoever and say, that means me. Love always trusts. Means we can always believe in ourselves. Because God always believes in us. There is never a time God doesn't believe in you. If you go on the wrong path, it's not because God stopped believing in you. If you're on the wrong path, God hasn't stopped believing in you. You've stopped believing in you. You have stopped believing in that new person God has made you. God has called you to be. Love always trusts. God chose you because He trusts in you. You know, you may think that you decided to become a Christian, but that's not true. It wasn't your decision. Because God chose you. And if He hadn't chosen you, you would never have become a Christian. You would never even have thought about becoming a Christian. In John 6:44, here's what Jesus said. The Father is the one who sent me, and He is the one who brings people to me. I will raise them up on the last day. Anyone the Father does not bring to me cannot come to me. You are sitting here today because God chose you, because God trusts in you. God believes in you. He knows your potential. God knew who you were before He ever called you. He knew every fault, every sin, every wrinkle on your skin. Amen? Nothing you do could ever surprise God. He knew what you were going to do before He called you. And He called you anyway. Think about that. No matter how bad the mistake is, no matter how egregious the sin, God knew you would do that, and He called you anyway because He believes in you. He trusts in your potential. He knows what you can be. That should make you feel very special because you are. You are special in God's eyes. Do you understand what it means? People don't choose to come to Christ. God calls them to come. And He only calls those He believes in. Oh, He would love for the entire world to come to Him. God doesn't want anyone to perish. The Bible tells us that. But He only calls those He trusts. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter where you are. If God called you, it's because He trusts you. Before He called you, in fact, before you were even born, God had a plan already in place for you. He called you to do that thing for Him and His kingdom. Look at this in Psalm 139, starting in verse 13. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. That's how much God trusts in you. He had your life laid out not just every day, not just every year, every moment. God laid it out before you were ever born. If He called you to Jesus, it's because He believes in you. He trusts in you. There is nothing you could have done to merit God's attention. Nothing you do now is worthy of God's attention. No matter how holy you become, that's not why God called you. It's not because you were some special person that God couldn't do without. It's because of His love. He loves you. Love always trusts. He loves you. He loves you so much that He trusts in you and in what you will do for Him. He didn't come to you because you decided to search Him out. He created you for a purpose and called you from the womb. He called you to do a purpose in His kingdom. And He trusts in you to fulfill that purpose. How do you like that? You're not a nobody just going through life, floating along, just waiting to get to the end. This is not about making it through just to get to heaven. You have a purpose. God has a plan. And He trusts in you to fulfill that plan. That's how much God loves you. Friday and Saturday this week, when you're alone with God, ask God to help you trust in yourself. Not the old self, not the one who falls to sin. No, not that one. Trust in the new creation, the new person that God made you. Trust in that one, the one that is still growing every day, the one that is still maturing and learning to become like Jesus. So after all of this, can you see now how true love always trusts? we can believe in the best from each other and the best from God, because that's the way God feels about all of us. He believes in the best in you. He trusts you. And if He trusts me, you can trust me too. If He trusts you, I can trust you. Keep loving. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Show that love that proves our faith. I don't know if we've got a song for the end, Leslie. Come on up, worship team. Let's do this then. I want you to think about the stuff that we've talked about today. You see, this is all from Scripture. This isn't anything I made up. And when I say that love always trusts, I'm pulling this directly from the Bible. When I say that our love means we trust in others, that's because the Bible says that's what we need to do. When I said that our love trusts in God, it's because I know that you can. And when I talked about how love always believes in yourself, I mean it. You can believe in yourself because God believes in you. Show yourself some love. Don't give up. Don't say you'll never make it. You can't stop doing those bad things. You can. God believes in you. You should believe in yourself. Love always trusts. Amen? Think about that while we sing this song in closing.
I want to be holy like you, holy like you, Lord Jesus. Make me, I pray, holy like you.
You know, in this cancel culture of today, where we boycott people that don't agree with us, we return hate for hate. We need this message more than ever. Love always trusts in other people. Don't get into this cancel culture, this hatred of people because of what they believe or what they say. Don't get caught up in that stuff. Prove your faith through the love that you show others. Prove that you believe in other people and what they can be. Just like Arnold with his rugby boys. Make people into what you believe they can be by showing them love. Trust in God even when things seem to be falling apart and you can't understand why God allowed it. Believe in Him. Believe in yourself. Trust that you can be better than you are. Trust that you can be more than you've ever been. Because God trusts in you. He believes in you. Be the person God made you to be. Don't give up. Love always trusts. Let's say a prayer to close this service. And pray with me that God would help you to show the love that always trusts. God, we need your help, God. Oh, God, society needs your help. Our culture needs your help. The United States, the world needs your help today, God. Maybe more than ever. Hatred spewing out of people's mouths. People giving up on others simply because they said the wrong word or gave the wrong opinion. God, help us not to be like those people. Help us to show a different kind of love, a love that always trusts in others, trusts in you, and trusts in ourselves because you trust in us. Help us to keep that in mind every time we are tempted to not believe in someone, that you believe in us so much that you laid out a plan before we were born, and you made us into new people that can fulfill that plan in your kingdom and then make a difference in this world. Oh God, help us to believe in that person. Help us to show love like you want us to show love. Help us to always trust, to always believe because you do. Help us to be like you. And as we leave here today, let it be with that thought in our minds. Let us take this love that always trusts with us and share it with the world. And change our culture, change our society, change our world through your love. And a faith that proves itself with the love that we give. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. This was so wonderful. And I'm so glad that you came today. We won't have any more services this week, but we plan to be here next week, 10:30. We'll let you know if anything changes. God bless you. Go with God and love.